I grew up in a devout Muslim household where faith was central to our lives. My parents, like many others in our community, were firm believers in Islam. They taught me how to recite the Quran, how to pray 5 times a day, and how to live according to the teachings of Allah. For many years, this was the only way of life I knew. But as I grew older, I began to have questions I didn't feel comfortable asking at the time. I saw the deep devotion my family had to Islam, and I felt an obligation to follow in their footsteps. Yet, deep inside, there was a longing to understand more. What was the true nature of God? And why was it that, despite following the teachings of Islam, I felt a sense of emptiness inside? It wasn't an easy journey, but I started seeking answers in the Quran. I hoped that reading it more deeply would provide clarity. I wanted to understand who Allah really was. However, the more I studied, the more confused I became. There were things I struggled to reconcile. Things about the way women were treated, the concept of jihad, and the teachings that seemed to contradict themselves. One verse that always stood out to me was in Surah 29:46, where it says, "Our God and your God is one." It made me think, if Muslims, Christians, and Jews are supposed to worship the same God, why is there so much division? Why is there so much hostility between people of different faiths? At 19, I moved to the United States for college, still holding on to my Islamic faith, but now with a mind full of questions. During my studies, I met people from all walks of life, including Christians. At first, I kept my distance from them. I had always been taught that Christians were misguided, and their beliefs about Jesus being the Son of God were blasphemous. But the more I interacted with them, the more I realized that these were people who truly cared about their faith and about others. One day, out of sheer curiosity, I picked up a Bible. I wanted to know why Christians believed what they did. As I began to read, I found myself drawn to the person of Jesus. His teachings were unlike anything I had ever encountered. In Matthew 5:44, Jesus says, "Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you." This was radically different from the teachings I had grown up with. In Islam, there is a clear distinction between believers and non-believers. The Quran, in Surah 9:5, says, "Slay the unbelievers wherever you find them." It was hard for me to accept that this was a teaching from a loving God. But Jesus, on the other hand, taught love, forgiveness, and compassion, even towards those who oppose you. This teaching deeply resonated with me. The more I read about Jesus, the more I felt that I had found the truth I had been searching for. In Jesus, I saw a God who loved unconditionally, a God who cared for all people, regardless of their background or beliefs. I saw a God who didn't demand violence or strict adherence to rituals, but who called people to love one another and live lives of grace. It wasn't an easy decision, but after months of reading, studying, and praying, I knew what I had to do. On December 12, 2010, I made the decision to follow Jesus. I felt a peace I had never experienced before, a peace that came from knowing I was now in a relationship with the true and living God. But this decision came with a cost. When I told my family about my newfound faith, they were devastated. Some of them were angry, others disowned me, and there were even threats made against me. It was heartbreaking to lose the connection with my family, but I knew I had made the right decision. Jesus said in Matthew 10:37, "Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me." I understood that following him would require sacrifice, but I also knew that the reward of eternal life with him was far greater than anything this world could offer. Over time, my relationship with my family has improved. While they don't fully understand or accept my decision, they have reached out, and we've begun the process of rebuilding our connection. I pray every day that they, too, will come to know the love and grace of Jesus. This journey hasn't been easy, but it has been worth it. Leaving Islam wasn't about rejecting my family or my heritage. It was about finding the truth, about discovering a relationship with God through Jesus Christ that has transformed my life in ways I never thought possible. Today, I stand firm in my faith, knowing that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And I'm grateful for the journey that led me to him.